Welcome to Konoha Crush, a clandestine effort to exhaustively research and document events occurring in and around the village hidden in the leaves. I'm Ruby.
I'm Gwen.
Hey Gwen, we're back. We're here at the start of a new arc.
We're back and we're here at the start of the new arc.
We are recording 2 weeks in a row, which is good.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Feels good. We haven't done that since, Don't Talk About It.
Don't talk about it. Maybe if you're paying really close attention, you might be able to piece together, if you're looking at when various anime started airing, you might be able to figure it out, but don't do that. That's my request.
Yeah, no, we record every week and we upload on that week.
Mm-hmm.
So shut up.
Yeah, and when I was talking about Ranking of Kings starting up at in an episode that went up I don't know if that episode is up or if it's going up soon. That was just I'm behind on anime and I'm catching up, so don't worry about it.
To be fair, Ranking of Kings had been out for a couple of weeks when we talked about it, so shut up. How are you? How's your week been?
Oh, it's been pretty good. Been thinking about Naruto some, been thinking about other shit some. I feel like I've got a healthy balance of Naruto and things that aren't Naruto going on in my life right now.
Oh, me too. I don't have as much to talk about today because this isn't the first time we've recorded in 3 weeks.
Yeah?
So, but that's good because we have something else to talk about.
Yeah.
So, this is the start of a new arc, and we've said it in other places that we kind of want the start of every new arc to be a good episode to onboard people to the podcast. And so we should talk a little bit about us and about the structure of the podcast and about what we're going to be up to.
Yeah, so, Konoha Crush is a podcast about watching Naruto. We're watching all of Naruto. We're not taking any shortcuts. We're not checking anything out. We're going to watch every episode. We're going to watch all the movies. And we're doing this not just to prove that we're gods among men, but also...
because everyone already knows.
Yeah, but also because... I don't know. I think that's a more interesting approach to take. I think that if we're going to be talking about the anime, then I think it's worth digging into everything that's there and trying to find all of the little bits that might fall through the cracks, or when you're following a skip list, or just to try and pick up on little bits of individual visions that people bring to the work. I am a proponent of being more complete than I necessarily have to when it comes to engaging with something like this, especially if I'm making a whole big deal of talking about it every week for a long time.
Yeah, and it's just so much of this show, so much of what people want to skip in this show can be really enlightening as to the world that these characters inhabit and what's going on with the characters themselves. And I think there is at least the potential for a lot to be missed when you just try to mainline the quote unquote important stuff.
For sure, yeah.
And even if I'm wrong there, I would like to at least make the effort to enjoy the show that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is that if I am just trying to bypass everything that is not conventionally considered the essential path through watching Naruto, I feel there's a big chance that we miss out on some artistically interesting expression of just in terms of some animation or a weird offbeat little story, or I think there's a lot of room for there's a lot of room for us to find little things to enjoy in places like that.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into a little bit of our backgrounds as fans of Naruto and people in general.
My path into engaging with Naruto is pretty standard. I got into Naruto in high school to have more reasons to talk to a girl. I kept reading Naruto after that girl and I stopped talking because I was just kind of invested in Naruto at that point. I read Naruto up until it finished, and I was thinking about Naruto a normal amount, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was, I caught back up with it, with the anime of it as I realized the anime was during its ending, and I wanted to see what they would do for the big fight at the end, and just kind of stuck around and watched through the last like 30 episodes of that, and that kind of rekindled a lot of my love for it. And then I undertook a sort of journey, if you would, of watching one episode of Naruto every day for 2 years. And now I don't think about Naruto a normal amount anymore. Now I'm a freak of nature.
Perfect.
And so I guess it was like inevitable that I would be like, what if I watched Naruto, the whole thing again, and like talked about it even more? And I at the end of this journey, I'm either like, I've regained my humanity, or I've like, I'm just an undiscernible kind of being from the amount of Naruto that's poisoned my brain.
I'm excited to find out. Well, I guess I should go next, being the only other person here. Hi, I'm Gwen. I started watching Naruto on Cartoon Network when I was in middle school.
I imagine that's pretty normal. That's pretty typical.
I started watching the dub, because that's what was on Cartoon Network, around when like the Chunin exam started. So like we're getting into the part of Naruto where like I have the most memory, is like this stretch of like original Naruto into basically before Shippuden starts, and then the rest of everything I'm pretty spotty on. Like I didn't keep up with Shippuden too consistently, and I have like tried to go back and watch it occasionally, but you know,
there's a lot of it. There's 500 episodes of it. It's like a big thing.
It's a big thing. So I'm really excited for this project. Yeah, I mean, like I'm just really excited for this project. I hope as the lesser of the two Naruto experts here, I still have something to bring to the table. And you know what? I'm funnier, so
yeah. I can't dispute that. I guess like that is up to you, the listeners. If you want to like claim that I'm funnier than Gwen, then that's your prerogative to do. I won't like sway you in either direction, but I'm not gonna have a fight about it right here.
No. Yeah, so I think that's basically it. I think that's...
There's one other thing I want to touch on, which is that like the reason that we are a Naruto anime podcast and not just a Naruto manga podcast is because I, as a person, have like a lot of investment in like the process of adaptation and what various creators bring to that, in the opportunities they have to like bring something that's a little more like personally distinctive and expressive to the table. And I think there's a lot of really fascinating instances of that throughout Naruto. And I would feel like I had done a really incomplete job of engaging with the work if I was just talking about the manga.
That being said, Ruby is still going to be talking about the manga, along with the episodes that we watch week to week of Naruto in Japanese. Ruby will be reading the chapters that go along with it, and I will be watching the dub. So Ruby will talk about things that are maybe different or interesting from the manga, and I will talk about things that are maybe different or interesting from the dub.
And that's not like us going down and like point by point being, here's everything that's different, here's everything that was added, and here's everything that got cut. But if there's little details that I think make like substantive changes that were added, or, you know, like things that have like that are like take on a slightly different light depending on the framing in either version, I think that's worth talking about.
For sure. Yeah, and I think that's about it. I do want to take a second to shout out the Patreon. Patreon.com/Konoha Crush, all one word. If you want to support the show, it costs money to host podcasts, turns out. So we would appreciate a little bit of help with that. If you support us on Patreon, you get access to early episodes, extra recordings where after we're done recording the podcast, Ruby and I just sit and hang out for a little bit. And also, if you give me a lot of money, I will draw your Naruto OC.
Oh shit! Have you posted like the full podcast art anywhere? Because I feel like that's like a, you know, that's your like greatest display of your credentials as somebody who can draw Naruto OCs.
Sure. Yeah.
So you should post like a full size of the podcast art on the Twitter somewhere, because I don't think there's actually a clear way to say that. See that isn't at the like small thumbnail size.
Mm-hmm. I definitely will. Remind me when we're done recording this podcast. Yeah, and in any images we talk about on recording, they will be on the Twitter underneath the post where we link to the episode. So just make sure we mention that, you know, like if you want to get the full experience, you should follow the Twitter. Make sure you give us loads of money on Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
all that good stuff. And I think with that, we're done for the little like onboard episode introduction.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to talk about, or should we get right into the episodes?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have something I've been watching. I guess the anime that I've watched the most of in the last week is I have watched 6 episodes of Princess Connect Redive Season 2, which is a gacha game adaptation that I think is very interesting in terms of like what it's doing, in the sense that it doesn't directly adapt a single scene from the game at any point ever.
Really?
Yeah. And part of this is like, even though the game in the story it's telling takes on the sort of like illusion of being structured like anime episodes, if you just tried to lift from that episode by episode, you would get something that is kind of bad, because the game is sort of inept at telling its own story, even if there's like little bits that people can like latch onto. It's just sort of like poorly structured and gets in its own way by like needing to like show off the various characters you can pull into gacha and have them perform their one joke for you.
But you've seen 6 episodes of the anime, so you're telling me the anime is different.
I've seen 18 episodes of the anime, because I also watched the previous season.
Right.
And I don't know if this is like a full, everybody go watch the show. I think it's great. Like, I'm having a great time with it, but I also feel like if this is the sort of show you would enjoy, the odds are that like you already know about it and are watching it, because it's kind of, I mean, like, it is a show for the people who like can look at like a big cast of gacha game characters and latch onto a few of them, and maybe get like invested in the relationships between a few key ones of them. And I think you need to be in that mindset to get the most out of it. But I do think it's like a show with a very like appealing set of like animation designs for the characters that it pulls from the game, and I think it has like a fun animation philosophy that's like pretty easy to get a lot of, even if you're just like looking at clips of the big fancy animated bits.
Cool. I'll definitely look at like the wiki or something and look at all the characters, and if I like one, I might check out the anime.
Yeah. I think that like if you just want to see like, here's a cool action scene, there's in episode 4 of the most recent season. I haven't done my due diligence in like looking up who worked on this, but I believe episode 4 is like an animation directed by Takahito Sakazume, and what starts as like this pretty like expressive and like with a lot of fun character animation, stand up to the show, kind of gradually swells to this like absurdly intricate and like fascinatingly staged like action climax that is just kind of breathtaking to watch. So if you're gonna check out any piece of animation just to like see what's up, I think looking into that is probably a pretty good one to just to see something cool.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I think it is just on the level I'm engaging with. I think it is very interesting to see something that is like managing to like convey a lot of the same feelings and like carry a lot of the same emotional through lines, in spite of the fact that it's basically telling a different story with like the same fundamental pieces rearranged. And I think it is cool that this show is like given enough freedom to become that, and not just something much more rote and boring.
Yeah, that's really cool. I might check it out. It does sound like the kind of thing that like might appeal to me. I have like seen it places.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never actually touched it, because like, it doesn't look like the kind of thing that would be good to watch.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's an acquired taste. I think you kind of need to be willing to meet it where it is. And I've played enough gacha games that I am my like defenses are weakened, and I can just like sometimes I can just sit with something that is in that place. But I'm covering my bases, because if you watch it and you think it's deeply embarrassing, I don't want you to think too much less of me.
Okay, yeah. I think that's a good energy to bring to the podcast. Just like, fucking cringe is dead. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, like, my favorite show for the longest time was Soul Eater.
Mm-hmm. Soul Eater's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like.
But also, like, have you tried watching Soul Eater recently?
No, I like reread Soul Eater recently, and I've like read some of that guy. I've read like a lot of that guy's recent comic. Not just a joke about, we're not making a podcast about anything that he made, But that's a guy who can draw, but he cannot write.
Oh boy.
But like, holy shit, he can draw. You know, that can get you pretty far.
Yeah. So, okay, now are we ready to get into the episodes?
Sure.
Episode 20, a new chapter begins. The Chunin exam. When he does, Naruto voices his dissatisfaction with the baby missions they're getting, and daydreams about saving Sasuke in a dangerous situation. They go and do their odd jobs, but Naruto keeps fucking up through carelessness and the desire to outpace Sasuke. Sasuke is tired of being held back by the other two, and lashes out. Kakashi's tired of handling children and goes to report on the mission. Sasuke breaks from the pack soon after, putting down Sakura in the process. Then Konoha and his buds show up.
So, the thing that really struck me at the start of this episode, as we got back into it, is that, like, how much it just feels like everything's normal again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this feels like kind of like a reset to basically the status quo that you would get in a show that was doing, like, more episodic or at least smaller scale stories most of the time. Like, you know, they're back and they're waiting for Kakashi and they're going on, like, missions they're not quite satisfied with, and Naruto's being the dumb guy and Sasuke's being cool and rude and kind of distant, and you know, Sakura is the girl, and, you know...
And we're just not going to talk about how traumatized everyone is right now.
Yeah, you know, we've got, like, our setup for, like, the lesson everybody's got to learn this time, because Sasuke's being, like, kind of rude and feeling like he's holding everybody, everybody's holding him back, and, like, you know, and Naruto's struggling to get along with him. You know, maybe they'll need to learn a lesson about teamwork. And it's kind of amazing how much it just feels like this thing that the show isn't.
Yeah. If you just skipped the entire, like, Zabuza arc, you would assume that, like, whatever happened, no big deal. It wasn't important at all.
Right, like, there's a bit where Naruto talks about, like, he wants to get in a mission where he can, like, enact his ninja way that he's decided upon, and, like, you know, that's, like, a thing that sort of stems from the events of the previous arc, but, like, he's not really, like, it's not really a moment that carries the, like, weight of what him declaring that he's going to find his own ninja way is at the end of the previous arc, you know? It's just like, here's the kind of, like, hot-headed, ambitious shonen protagonist kid, and he's...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he didn't watch a child who, like, he was starting to become friends with die in front of him.
Yeah. Like, you know, it's like... Ultimately, it's fine, because, like, I don't think that, like... I don't think that the show is actually, like, in a place where it's just ignoring that, but it is just it is like, it was a surprising register to see the show be in immediately after last week.
Right, like, I don't want Naruto to be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It is just a little bit jarring.
And also on that note, like, this is less surprising, but the show, it looks very normal again. Like, last week was kind of a treat for us. We got some very good looking episodes, and it's just regular this time. You know, sometimes we get some fun cartoony faces, sometimes we get, like, a little bit of, like, fun movement, but, like, mostly it's pretty plain. You know, that's what's sustainable for production of this scale. So it's not like, I'm not gonna, like, start complaining about it, but it is, like, it's humbling a little bit, you know?
For sure. And, like, yeah, I mean, like you said, it makes sense that the animation is kind of back to that, like, really basic, you know, just normal animation, because, like, nothing's happening. Almost this whole episode is people standing around and talking.
Yeah, like, none of these episodes that we watched this week look, like, rough, I don't think, but, like, they look like normal episodes of anime, which you can take that how you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, from that sort of introductory beat, we get to the scene where they're going off on all of their little bullshit missions. This is a thing that is, like, this, the whole montage where, like, Naruto is, like, destroying a woman's garden and, like, almost falling off a waterfall and getting pulled into a minefield by a dog. This is all, like, an additional scene that was added from the manga. In the manga, it just kind of, like, cuts from them being about to go on a mission and then back to them returning from a mission and Naruto being kind of beat up. And like, from the manga, I would sort of assume that maybe they were, like, on a mission that involved some sort of combat and not a series of, like, chore mishaps.
Yeah, because, yeah, it is strange that they're just back to doing, like, chore stuff, because, like, the whole impetus for that last arc was, like, proving that these kids are ready to take on a more serious mission, and they did.
Uh-huh. And, like, I think the thing that really gets me here is that, like, you know, if they just want to have like some comedy scenes to pad out the episode, that's fine. But I think it's kind of weird with what the like dramatic situation is here with what the dramatic situation is here with Naruto and Sasuke. Like if we're talking about, like, you know, they're not like working together as a team, and you know, Naruto keeps like overextending himself while trying to like show off and getting hurt. Like I feel like that's I feel like that is like pointing towards a different sort of event than Naruto is just destroying a woman's garden while everybody watches and goes like, "Wow, Naruto, you're destroying that woman's garden." Right? Like there's definitely an extent to which it just kind of feels like with how it's presented to us in the anime that like a lot of these little missions is just them watching Naruto fucking up and doing nothing about it so that they can like see him suffer the consequences for it later.
And like you were saying, how like the relationship that Sasuke and Naruto have right now sort of points at like a different stakes for the missions. Like it points to a different kind of mission that would have been fun to watch. Yeah,
like it would be cool if like, oh, they go and fight like some goofy bandits, right? And like Naruto's like,
yeah, and Naruto keeps like jumping out in front of Sasuke and like taking hits he doesn't have to.
Yeah, right. Like he's like.
Right, like he actually tries to do the thing he was daydreaming about, and then that fucks him up.
It is weird that they go for like a sort of comedy scene that feels so completely disconnected from what the rest of what the rest of like the little story that's being told here is.
Yeah, but also ultimately, I think I can respect the decisions they made, because it also feels like hey, we don't have a fight budget this episode. Can you do stuff that's easy to draw?
Yeah, okay. We like, it's probably like harder to set up like, oh, we're gonna get into this fight over here than it is to set up like, okay, we know that they just go and do menial chore bullshit sometimes, right? Like, so there's less work that needs to be done to get there, and like it takes up less time. It just does, I think, introduce a tension that like is a little awkward.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the last thing that I want to touch on is when Sasuke is like reflecting on like how stifled he feels and how much he feels like he's being held back. There's a bit about there's a bit where he's thinking about like strong guys that are out there that he could be testing himself out against and not just doing this bullshit. And he thinks about Haku for a moment. It makes me wonder if, like, we talked in the previous episode about a bit where Sasuke is like he wakes up and like he hears that Haku is dead, and he's like worried if Naruto did. And like at the time I was like, oh, is he worried that like Naruto had to like do this emotionally difficult thing? But it also makes me wonder if maybe he was a little worried that Naruto was able to kill Haku and he wasn't.
Yeah.
Which like I guess makes sense when he's like really dedicating himself to his killing a guy mission.
Yeah, you know, you almost forget when you see Sasuke just standing around being fucking a child or whatever that he's all in on revenge right now.
And also when he's lashing out, he tells Sakura that she's weaker than Naruto, like thereby consigning her to the like inescapable girl position of feeling like she needs to be as strong as the boys, and she will never escape ever. This is like the fucking terrible. It's like Sakura receiving her terrible sentence.
I hate this show. No, it just sucks when a show you like is written by a man who doesn't know how to write women.
Yeah, and like, you know, this is just the kind of thing that is there, and that like, I mean, ideally most of the podcast isn't us bemoaning this fact, because there's a lot in here that isn't that, and that, you know, there's a lot in here that I like, and so, you know, I hope that I believe that there will be plenty of things for us to talk about, but every time this comes up, it is just a bummer.
It just sucks.
Like it comes with the territory, and I'm used to it on some level. It's kind of shocking how blatant it is that like Sakura just gets told to go feel bad about like not being as strong as the boys, and she's like, well, I guess I'm not as strong as the boys, and I never will be. And then she never will be, outside of like a few moments later on where they like briefly declare that she is, and then do nothing with that.
Uh-huh. It sucks, and like I'm not going to dislike the show about it, but I'm not going to let myself get used to it either, so it's going to keep sucking. Okay, so you ready to move on?
Yeah, sure.
After provoking Sakura to give chase, Konohamaru runs into a pair of mysterious figures, Kankuro and Tamari. Kankuro lifts Konohamaru off his feet and threatens to hurt him. After a quick exchange of some bullying horseshit from Kankuro, Konohamaru is saved when Sasuke throws a small stone at Kankuro's arm. In a show of dominance, crushes another stone in his hand. Kankuro is ready for a fight, but the mysterious figure, Gaara, hangs from a tree next to Sasuke and tells him to cut it out. The Hokage holds a meeting with all of the squad leaders to let them know that in 1 week's time, the Genin will be tested to see who has what it takes to become Chunin.
Okay, yeah, so we got some really rough comedy with Konohamaru and the gang. We've got like some real like women am I right stuff where like Konohamaru sees Sakura being rude to Naruto and is like, oh, this is what relationships are like, because I guess, you know, you get that understanding very young. But that's
fucking girls, am I right?
Fucking girls, fucking women. And then we get like a really funny joke where Konohamaru's like, oh, is she even really a girl? And then we are fortunately have this dreadful comedy interlude interrupted by Kankuro threatening to kill a child. And I've never been so relieved to see somebody threaten to kill a child, because it means that the tone of the episode gets to be different and we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, woohoo! Thankfully in the dub, he was just talking about her forehead, so, you know, it's a little bit better. Not great, but boy howdy, am I glad my cousin showed up to be an asshole.
It's such a relief that these guys are here to just, like, threaten severe bodily harm to a 6-year-old.
I don't know, I guess when Naruto see his cousins with these people...
Is this the lore? We're establishing this?
Yeah, okay. I guess that's the lore.
Well, because I know that, like, these characters are referred to as, like, the Sand siblings, but I don't know if they're, like how,
I'm pretty sure they are straight up siblings.
Okay. I was never sure if they're, like, actually siblings, or if it was, like, here's, like, they're just, like, organized within a clan in such a way that, like, yeah, I don't know. Regardless, they're your cousins, so.
Yeah. Or if they're not straight up related, Kankuro is my cousin. Okay,
that guy's specific.
That's the one I claim.
Okay. I do kind of love their appearance here. I love that they're just here's the evil rude kids team, and they're here to cause a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you gotta get that rolling quick once you're starting to introduce everybody for your big competition arc.
Oh yeah, I think it's really funny that the thing they use to like demonstrate that these kids are bad is like threatening violence on Konohamaru.
Uh-huh.
When the two good guy ninja here have also hit Konohamaru.
Yeah, but that's like joke hits. This is serious hits.
Yeah, okay, sure. Uh-huh.
Yeah. There's funny ways and not funny ways to hit a child. This is key, evidently.
Alright, good to know.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and make sure I do the funny ones.
No, just don't do it. No, okay, hold on. No.
Gotta get my little notebook out.
No. Gonna make me so sad on this podcast. Yeah, when Sasuke shows up, he crushes a rock with his bare hands. Again, I think these episodes look fine, but the like extremely uniform crushed rock dust falling out of his hand looks like shit in like a very funny way to me. That rock is making so much dust, and it is like.
Right, and like crushing the hand and then just have like 2 or 3 pieces fall.
Mm-hmm.
Good, cool, badass. Crushing the hand and have a fucking CG sand effect. It's so funny.
It's just like a straight line that like keeps going for like the entire shot. Yeah, and Sasuke showing up brings with him the lamest through line through these episodes, which is that every time a girl sees Sasuke, she blushes a little bit and he's like, oh, he's pretty cool. He's pretty cute. Wow.
It's easy to believe when you remember that these characters aren't seeing the bad effects. They saw a real boy crush a real rock, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't actually have a ton more to say about like the end of this episode. I like it's like the bulk of what I have to say comes into like the way that these scenes are like carried forward at the start of the next episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we can go ahead and just move on.
Yeah, okay.
Episode 21. Identify yourself. Powerful new rivals. As the 3 new faces turn to leave, Sakura identifies them as ninja from the village hidden in the sand, and asks why they're here. Tamari shows her passport and explains that they're here for the Chunin exams. Also, they're being watched by Sound Shinobi. The Hokage asks the Jonin which youngsters are nominated to become Chunin, and Kakashi, to Iruka's dismay, says that all of Team 7 are ready to go. The Hokage decides to hold a preliminary exam to assure Iruka that the children are all ready to take the test. Later, Kakashi hands out their Chunin exam permission slips, and everyone, except Sakura, are pumped to test their skills.
So, we kind of get like a continuation of the feeling of like, oh, maybe there's like a setup for a story about the kids learning about teamwork. Because, we've like, they're not getting along, and we've got this evil seeming rival team that also doesn't get along. And they're stronger, but maybe, it's easy to imagine like a different story that this isn't going to be. That's like setting up like, okay, but maybe if Naruto and Sakura and Sasuke can work together, they can get the edge on these stronger kids. But again, I don't know if that was ever in the cards, but it just feels like a thing that like these two episodes are kind of hammering in like in a way that I couldn't help but notice.
Yeah. The teamwork angle isn't really something I picked up on. Which, knowing what I know about the show is really funny because the bulk of the Chunin exams is like one-on-one tournament style. So,
yeah, like if this was ever the plan, it did not stay the plan for long. Far be it for me to claim that Naruto is something that has like a consistent and clear through line that was like exhaustively planned from the start. This is a comic that's just kind of happening, and I think it mostly works out pretty well. But
I do really like those three characters.
Yeah, for sure. And I love Sasuke. I love Gaara. Gaara is like maybe my favorite Naruto character.
Gaara's really close.
Like I guess I haven't actually talked about Gaara a lot because Gaara's just kind of like...
Gaara hasn't really been in the show yet.
Yeah, like Gaara shows up and is like, oh, you're a disgrace, Kankuro. And he's kind of ominous and threatening, but we don't even really get like the actual grounds on which Gaara is ominous and threatening yet. So it's kind of like, he's biding his time. But that kid's going places.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've said this. I've always said this. We can go back to like the very first recording where I said it for sure. Is that like Gaara is the coolest guy in Naruto for sure.
For sure,
like hands down.
Yeah, we got these three characters we love, and then as the scene is ending, we pan over to three other characters that
just some tree mummies.
Yeah, so I have to say this trio has the dubious honor of being like the first guys that show up this much that I didn't immediately have the names of. I had Dosu, I had Kin, I had to look up Zaku. So like, sorry to these guys, but for all of their showy entrance, they might be kind of doomed to just getting chumped out to put somebody else over.
I will say they looked really scary hiding in that tree.
They do look pretty cool. Like Dosu, he's like the guy who's all wrapped up. Got pretty striking design. He seems like a cool, scary guy. Zaku's there. Kin's the girl one.
Naruto, everybody.
Naruto. You get to move ahead to the next scene where we're talking about the people nominating their...
Yep.
Yeah. So in this scene, Iruka's like starting to get a little wary about the idea of nominating Naruto to be for the Chunin exams when he's like just graduated, and Kashi's like, hey, I became a Chunin when I was 6, which stood out to me because there's a few angles that this took me down. And first is that I was like trying to like check some other stuff because this didn't quite feel right to me, and this is definitely a thing that Masashi Kishimoto forgets about later because according to like this episode and like at least one data book, Kakashi graduated from the academy at the age of 5 and became a Chunin at the age of 6. And according to like a flashback we see later, Kakashi is with his team that he was like going on missions with. He took the Chunin exams where he became a Chunin with them, which would have been while they were all still in the academy, because they didn't graduate until they were like 8, and they were all also like, they're like all the same age. So it's like, it is fine, but it is this is the kind of thing I was talking about. Like, Naruto is not sometimes it's okay that it's not perfectly planned out.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you write a line to make a guy sound cool, and then you forget about it.
You forget about it, and you want to do like a flashback about him going through the Chunin exams for like some other scene later, and it doesn't matter that these contradict really. But when I'm making this podcast, I'm going to be like, wait a minute. I think Kakashi was lying in that room. I don't think Kakashi was lying. I think that, like, I'm not going to bother like reconciling these two contradictory facts. I think it just doesn't matter, other than the fact that I like to point things out on the podcast. And the other thing that's kind of interesting about this is that, like, I was looking at, like, this kind of took me down the road of, like, looking at when other major characters became Chunin. And there is definitely, like, a trend of characters who are, like, depicted as having been geniuses or whatever, becoming Chunin at ages like younger than whatever the academy graduation age that like Naruto and Sasuke and Sakura are at is. There's a lot of instances of that, which I think is kind of interesting when we think about Sasuke, who is like held as a genius among his immediate peer group, but when it comes to like the actual brought outer field of like what is considered a genius ninja in the world of Naruto, he's not really he's not really ahead of the pack. And I imagine that a lot of that is because his life got fucked up pretty bad for a while there when all of his family died.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it is like kind of an interesting additional layer to the tension of like him feeling like he's held back when he's already a person who feels like he could be farther than where he was if he just didn't have all of that inconvenient trauma.
Yeah, I also wonder because, like, so far, like, so much of what we've seen in Naruto so far, like, suggests that, like, ninja training and, like, ninja ranks and stuff and, like, the ninja school that you go to, like, aren't tied to your age so much as your ability to do ninja stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of the ninja students we see are all, like, 12. Exactly.
But also, like, I mean, in this scene, the 9... Genin who get nominated among like the rookie graduates are like also implied to be all 9 of the like all 9 current rookie graduates. So I assume that like everybody else from Naruto's graduating class just got sent back to the academy. So presumably they're gonna like whenever they actually become Genin or whatever, it'll be like like later for them.
But also remember that Naruto failed several times.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of like kind of trying to make the ages of all the characters line up in ways that are a bit awkward.
Mm-hmm. And those are just the people that were like, yeah, these kids are ready to become Chunin. I imagine there's plenty of people that are just like getting forever.
Mm-hmm. It adds an interesting texture to Sasuke when you think about like how there is a path for him to be like so much farther than where he is than he's at right now, and like lots of other people have been through that, right?
Mm-hmm. I will say this would be a much better show if they dropped the thing where every girl was like super into Sasuke and also made him 8 years old.
Holy shit. I don't know, because I feel like that changes a lot of other character dynamics that I like.
Yeah. I don't know if you can tell, but I didn't think through that statement at all.
I mean, the other thing that could happen there is that we have the risk of accidentally like inventing a situation where there's like the younger genius kid that all of the girls are still crushing on, and then we've made Negima again, and nobody wants that.
No, don't scare me.
Yeah, and then we get the like continuing from where Kakashi says that he became a Chunin at age 6. Like he is kind of getting into a fight with Iruka about if the kids are ready. He's pretty aggressive in pursuing this. Like he's like so specifically, there's a bit where Iruka's like, hey, I don't think these kids are ready for this. Are you trying to crush them? And then Kakashi's like, hey, I don't know. Maybe that'd be good for them. Like, he's very, like, aggressively picking this fight with Iruka, even if his actual stance is a little more measured than that. I think this is a bit that is, like, this is setting up a thing that this arc actually is about, which is, I think that the Chunin exams more broadly are going to be touching a lot on, the pressures that people are putting on these kids to succeed and, like, how far they're willing to go and the various, like, conflicts that arise from people having, like, different definitions of like what's okay to put a kid through. Even if I was talking earlier about some things that like maybe get left by the wayside, there is clearly at least some idea of like kind of what's being touched on thematically here.
Yeah, especially the part where he was just like, I don't like having to say this, but you need to back off. They're my students now, not yours.
Mm-hmm.
Like actually kind of touched a nerve in me. I was just like, oof. Ugh.
Yeah. It's like a cool beat for these characters. Like I think that I think that you can very like easily get a feel for like where Iruka's at when he's feeling defensive of these kids and not like wanting to put them at risk. I think that like it's very effective characterization of him, especially. Oh yeah, Iruka's just like, listen, dude. 2/3 of your team don't have parents. I'm their dad right now. Yeah, I'm like the most dad of a dad they've got. Like, I guess you're also kind of their dad, but I feel like that means we should talk about this together.
Kakashi's like, you're not their dad anymore. I'm their dad now.
Nah, just one dad at a time. Sorry, that's how it works. they can get supplementary dads, but like I'm also overseeing that process.
Oh my god, that's why Sakura isn't getting neglected by Kakashi. It's because she has parents.
Yeah, he's like, they'll figure it out, but he doesn't know that they never appear.
Sakura's a fucking exchange student. She's just living in like an apartment by herself, and she doesn't even have like
her parents are like a hoax she's carrying out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Just running down Sakura's parents are the result of genjutsu theory. We're going to be paying very close attention to this one.
That's why she's so good at seeing through genjutsu.
I feel like the actual reason Sakura's so good at seeing through genjutsu is that it's sort of like a meager olive branch being extended towards like, oh, here's like a support role that she could have in a fight.
Yeah, right. Like, it's definitely like them at least trying to follow through on their Sakura's the like smart strategic thinking one thing, which we need to double back on this a little bit later.
Yeah, once Kakashi is like handing out this list for the Chunin exams, like we get this scene where Naruto and Sasuke are thinking about guys they want to fight, and it's very funny to me that Naruto is standing here going like, yeah, I'm gonna get Kankuro. I gotta fight Kankuro. That guy's my rival now, and this is the most he will ever think about Kankuro ever.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. No offense to Kankuro, he's not the cool one in that group. So it's so funny that Naruto picks him out.
I was like, okay, this is the guy that was rude to me specifically. That other guy was kind of rude to me, but he wasn't as rude. He didn't call me short.
Yeah, no, that guy called off his fucking bully bud. Like, that guy's a bro. Like, he's cool. Naruto right now feels fondly about Gaara.
I don't know if I would go that far, but...
No, probably not.
I mean, later I will go that far, but not right now.
You know, Sasuke's got all the fucking actual strong people in his head.
Is there anybody other than Gaara that he thinks about right now? Or is it just Gaara here?
I think it's just Gaara here, because we haven't seen anyone else. Are you ready to move on? Naruto runs into the Konohamaru gang again, but Moegi is grabbed by a strange ninja and carried off. Naruto saves the child and gets his ass, but he slips out of the net. Meanwhile, Sakura and Sasuke are each tested too. Sakura sees through genjutsu and Sasuke kicks a guy in the head. Turns out it was Iruka, in disguise the whole time. At the testing site, a couple of bullies are keeping everyone out of the testing room and telling them to go home. Team 7 sees through the ploy and points out the genjutsu on the door, revealing everyone was on the wrong floor. And we're properly introduced to Rockley.
Okay. Yeah, so we have everybody getting their little individual tests where Iruka's pretending to be like an enemy ninja who's doing very transparently personally targeted shit that it wouldn't really make sense for an enemy ninja to be doing. But
I do like that each test was done to sort of like introduce the characters and highlight their skills.
Yeah.
Naruto does like a trick with like the shadow clone to like save the hostage. Sakura sees through like a genjutsu.
Yeah, and Sasuke kicks the guy in the head.
Yeah.
Sasuke gets so little of a scene in this sequence. Like, Naruto gets a whole thing where he's hanging out with the kids, and then this weird guy shows up, and then Sakura has this thing of like, oh, it seems like she's being baited into like an illusion where she sees Sasuke die again, and she's just like, just kidding, I know it was up the whole time. And Sasuke just sees the guy in the forest and kicks him in the head.
Literally like 4, maybe 5 frames. Just whap. That's all we need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, this is another thing that was added for the anime, like this whole sequence of Iruka going and providing these tests, which I guess act as sort of a follow-up to the earlier scene of him and Kakashi fighting. And this kind of brings me to one of my concerns about this arc as a whole, which is that the actual conclusion to the tension between Kakashi and Iruka was something that the anime kind of had to like patch in later, and like maybe we get a scene of that like that's touching on that more further on. But like, if this is all we get and it had to be kind of added in like this, I have some worries about like if the arc as a whole is going to manage on delivering about this, because I mean, I guess I might as well just say it. Like, my memory of the Chunin exams last time is that it has some highs, but I wasn't super positive on it. So I am curious to see how that bears through this time, and if I feel like it's kind of dropping the ball on a lot of those themes. And I worry that this is an early warning sign of that.
Yeah. That That makes a lot of sense to me. You know what really bothered me in this part? They didn't let Sakura sniff out the genjutsu.
Yeah?
Sasuke did. Sasuke did, and he was just like, why don't you explain it, Sakura? And she was like, oh, there's a genjutsu.
Oh, like when they're in the hallway?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, it is weird because Sasuke being like, hey, Sakura, you're good at seeing through genjutsu. Why don't you say what's up? Is like maybe the only time he's ever nice to her ever. But also, like, it does kind of diffuse the idea of this being her moment.
Yeah. Also, do none of these children recognize the two
guys?
The two guys who are, like, obviously their teachers?
Who are obviously their teachers in, like, fake child disguise?
Yeah.
None of these people have any respect for the most iconic of Naruto background characters, Izumo and Kotetsu. They don't understand. They don't understand that if you type Naruto those two guys in Google, you'll get them. They've got like history in front of them, and they have no respect.
Our introduction to Rockley was really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, we I didn't talk about it in the recap, but, like, Rockley is the one you see getting bullied when they enter the, like, situation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're, like, shoving him to the ground and shit. And, like, when Sasuke confronts them and they're, like, talking back or whatever, like, Sasuke moves into fight, and Rockley just, like, gets between right away and catches both of their punches, and it's, like, really cool.
Yeah, and it was like, wait, we weren't actually in trouble, were you? Huh? It's fun. It's cool. Rockley's cool. Rockley's like a cool guy, definitionally. Yeah,
Rockley's the coolest guy in Naruto for sure.
I do think that like the introduction to Rockley's team in general is like pretty fun. Like going back to before this scene, there's the bit where they're like out in the forest, just like training at night, and they're talking about how a bunch of Genin got nominated, and 1010 is just like, yeah, I don't know, it's probably just some fucking Jonins doing like a power trip thing. It doesn't really matter. They're just dumb kids who don't know shit, which is like a pretty fun first impression for a character who will never do anything.
I'm so mad.
1010 is maybe the most character who never does anything out of all of them.
And she has, like, a cool, like, gimmick, too. Like, it's such... Like, I want a girl that's just, like, the weapons expert so bad.
Right?
And, and she's right there.
She technically exists. Just off screen. You can't see her.
Like, literally, whatever she does in this arc is gonna be the only stuff we see from her, pretty much.
I mean, because we're watching the anime, we get a little bit more. So that's in our favor. But
that's nice. I'm excited. I'm excited to see a lot of the Chunin exam stuff going on. Right? Like, I haven't watched it all that recently, so it's still gonna be like I don't have the recent like apprehension that you do.
Like, there's stuff I'm looking forward to. Like, I don't want to, like...
Yeah. I just, I'm just saying I'm going to try not to let you being a fucking Debbie Downer all the time get to me.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it'd be a pretty bad podcast if I just came in here and was like, here's how we're going to feel about this arc of Naruto, and you just followed suit. I would be pretty unsatisfied with that. I bet you'd be pretty unsatisfied with that, too.
Yeah.
We need to find something to get into a fight about at some point.
Yeah, we do. But not today, because Rockley's fucking cool.
Rockley is fucking cool. No disagreement from me.
Alright, you ready to move on to the cool part?
Yeah.
Episode 22, Chunin Challenge, Rockley versus Sasuke. With 30 minutes to spare before the test, Rockley challenges Sasuke to a fight. After Sakura tuckers herself out dodging wings from Rockley, Naruto steps up to challenge Rockley and rushes him, but Rockley sends him spinning on the ground into the far wall with his leaf whirlwind technique. Sasuke accepts the challenge and rushes Rockley, but Rockley is incredibly fast. Sasuke suspects some kind of trick and activates his Sharingan to sniff out any ninja magic. But Rockley isn't using any, he's just that good. Rockley explains the difference between being born with natural abilities and working hard to attain power yourself, and kicks Sasuke into the air via his jaw. Rockley leaps up behind Sasuke and undoes the bandages on his hands, apologizing in his head for using this forbidden technique.
Something I was very curious about at the top of this episode is I had to check on the Naruto wiki if anybody had ever tried to make a claim that Rockley's like physically manifested winks were a jutsu that he could do. Because I can see a wiki doing that, but as far as I could tell, that was not the case, which was kind of a letdown to me.
That's the one he gets.
So maybe this is my edit war to start.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so funny.
Making a page. I don't know what the technique name is for this. Maybe I don't have that much to stand on because it's not like in the data books. No.
It's not a jutsu because he doesn't have a hand sign. Do you know what that means?
It's taijutsu.
It's a Kekai Genkai.
Oh, fuck. So something I find interesting here is that when Rockley is picking a fight with Sasuke, it's not like, oh, hey, I heard this kid is strong. It's like, oh, hey, this is an Uchiha. I want to try and fight an Uchiha.
Which is, it's kind of funny, knowing what we know about Rockley's whole situation.
Yeah?
Right, because, like, he knew that the Sharingan wouldn't be that effective against him, so he was just like...
Yeah, I mean, actually, like, I'm never gonna know. I mean, like...
He's like, hell yeah, I want to embarrass an Uchiha.
I guess, like, I guess Kakashi is, like, a guy, but, like, he already knows what's up with me, because he fights my master all the time. So, like, I need to find some unsuspecting Uchiha schmuck, and there's only one of those in the world. But I also think it's kind of interesting how, like, whatever social position Uchiha might have had within the village is, like the memory that is basically just not there within the younger generation. Like, it's just like, oh, here were some strong guys that aren't really around anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, similarly, I think that thing's interesting here is that when Naruto is like, actually, I want to fight Rockley, Rockley basically, like, doesn't really give a shit about him and barely knows who he is, which I think is interesting in the sense that, like, whatever, like, the extent to which people are, like, telling their kids to, like, be worried about Naruto and stay away from him, like, doesn't seem to extend that far beyond, like, the people who know their kids are regularly interacting with Naruto. Like, you definitely get this sense as the cast is broadening out that both, like, Sasuke and Naruto's deals are, like, just kind of not considered a big thing in the same way that they were in their, like, previous, much smaller, like, here is my Ninja Academy class.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because, like, in those first few episodes, they definitely made it sound like it was a big deal.
I imagine it's like a big deal to a lot of people, but, like, you know, maybe it's not as big of a deal to people who, like, see their kids standing, who don't see their kids standing next to Naruto. I mean, we never really learn what Rockley's, like, familial situation is. So I don't know if he's got parents who would be telling him to stay away from Naruto, or if he's just, like, surpassed all social norms by becoming a weird guy who's very strong.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably just the case. You know, I mean, there's really only one person that Rockley looks up to, and I don't think he's the type to tell Rockley to, like, stay away from Naruto.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we get to the fight with Rockley and Sasuke after Rockley, like, immediately knocks out Naruto. And Rockley's fucking cool. Like, this is like a great beat. This really works for me. I love that, like, you know, Rockley's kind of like he starts with the episode and he's, like, kind of like a joke guy, you know? He's got his goofy haircut, he's got his goofy outfit, he's, like, comedically smitten with Sakura. And everybody's like, oh, great, this fucking loser. And then he's, like, immediately just mopping the floor with Sasuke. And Sasuke's like, all right, well, let's see how this fucker acts when I activate the Sharingan. And then, like, he just continues to get his ass kicked. And it's like, hell yeah, Rockley's here.
It's so good. And his whole thing about, like, there's a difference between people who, like, work to get stronger and people who are born with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a cool thing to be saying when you're kicking somebody's ass.
Yeah. It's also, like, such, like, I was wondering about this. This is something that I don't know the answer to. But, like, I'm wondering, like, where something I see all over the place in, like, various shonen manga, where people are talking about, like, yeah, we've got the geniuses and we've got the people who get there through effort. And I'm curious if there's, like, a specific point of origin for that, because it's just, like, all over the place, and it's just kind of like, oh, here's, like, a classic, like, shonen manga dilemma. Here's, like, a classic foundation for a rivalry or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
This is something I don't have the answer to. I tried to, like, do some research, but I'm kind of bad at doing research about anything other than the very specific things I know how to research. And, like, most of my attempts to Google just, like, led me to TV tropes, and that's not getting anybody any information ever.
No, it's not.
You go to TV tropes to become more incorrect, and I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, like how would you even start? You would have to just, like, look at every piece of media ever and then just decide which one came first.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, like, go back to, like, a bunch of, like, okay, what are all these, like, foundational comics that, like, probably aren't translated, or, like, you know, like, it seems like it would be pretty hard to verify. But it also, you know, if anybody knows,
yeah,
please tell me.
You know what? I'm just gonna make the call right here.
Mm-hmm.
It was Naruto. Naruto did it.
Naruto is the most influential, most revolutionary piece of shonen manga storytelling ever. Nothing else did it before like that, and
Nope.
Nope. No, you can't really even draw any influences. They say Naruto's like drawing any influences from something. It's just so unique and one of a kind, and it's just nobody ever made a story about a nice boy who worked hard before, and I think that's I think that's beautiful.
Yep.
And do you have more you want to say about how sick Rockley is here?
No, but I will have plenty to say about how sick Rockley is later.
Okay.
Like later, like in another episode.
Uh-huh.
So you ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on.
Rockley is stopped by a big talking tortoise. The tortoise chastises Rockley while Naruto and Sakura argue whether or not a turtle can be a sensei. Rockley apologizes to the tortoise, and Guy Sensei appears. Everyone's shocked at his whole vibe, and then he decks Rockley. They cry it out before Guy tells Rockley to go run laps, and Guy introduces himself as Kakashi's rival. Guy and Rockley head off, and Naruto points out how rough Rockley's hands were, and how hard he must work. Sasuke resolves himself to kick ass at the Chunin exams. Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Everybody was calling that motherfucker a turtle.
Were they calling him a turtle? Did not say tortoise? Is that consistent even in the subs? I need to check this now.
I'm pretty sure both the subs and the dub I had said turtle.
Oh shit. I guess I'm looking at the manga and they're also saying turtle, like the official English translated manga. So they're all fools.
Look at him. That motherfucker's obviously a tortoise.
That is a tortoise. Yeah. I think it's interesting that the first thing we ever see Guy do is ninjutsu, because he's also like a guy who generally relies on just taijutsu. But this is our very first like introductory thing we've ever seen him do, and it is just summoning a guy, which is like definitionally not taijutsu.
Yeah. Also like the impression I had of summoning was that it was like kind of a rude thing to do willy-nilly.
Maybe he's cool, like really cool with this turtle. Like maybe they're just tight. There's you know, the contract just says, hey, call me up anytime.
Yeah.
I'll yell at a kid for you. I don't get enough opportunity to yell at kids.
Do you want it like, he's just in on the joke. It was all like right, because Guy was hiding.
Uh-huh.
Guy was hiding to fuck with Team 7. Right?
Probably. Like, yeah, like he has to have been near enough to like summon the turtle into here. I don't know exactly what the like boundaries of that are.
And when the tortoise was done talking, he said, "All right, Guy, come out."
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like it was a prank, I guess.
Yeah. Later he's gonna go to Kakashi and be like, yeah, so I tricked your kids into thinking that Rockley's master was a turtle, so that's actually another victory for me. We're 51-49 now.
Oh, also Rockley kicked Sasuke's ass, so that's actually 52.
Guy is like a character that I feel kind of weird about, because there's some stuff about him that I think is really fun. Like, I think the part of Guy where he's like Kakashi's funny rival is really funny. Like I think like all of the jokes about the very petty shit they get up to are like just good, but when it comes to like, oh, here's the Rockley and Mike Guy comedy dynamic, I just don't know that I vibe with it really, and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be taking from it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a strange relationship to have with a student.
Yeah, I mean, like, for starters, I'm just not really gonna buy into, like, oh, you know, as part of this, like, over-the-top display, he's just decking this kid in the face really hard as, like, a corrective measure. Like, I'm not about that. I don't really think that's all that funny.
Mm-hmm. It's notably not the funny way they hit a kid.
Yeah, like, it's not like, it's like, oh, there's, like, a big, like, lump on their head. He's, like, flying back and there's blood coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Like, the extent to which, like, Sakura is acting disgusted by this is, like, am I supposed to be, like, is there, like, a deeper level that I'm supposed to be, like, looking at this on that's, like, I don't know. It doesn't sit really well with me. It doesn't land very cleanly. I just think it's kind of... I
will say this part has been really badly written because well established that Sakura is in fact an ally.
Right, but if we're supposed to think there's kind of like a gay vibe here, that's not really very good either.
No, it's not.
But like it's not playing like the wacky funny music, it's playing like the kind of sleazy funny music here. And it's just another layer of like it's just no good.
Yeah, right, like straight up I do not get the joke.
It's like, and every time I think I'm closer to getting the joke, it's like, wow, I hope that isn't the joke because it sucks really bad if that's the joke.
nobody could possibly think this is funny, so it's probably not that's probably not the joke. I don't get the joke.
I mean, realistically speaking, the answer might just be that, we're not, maybe the audience is people who would think this is funnier than we do. Like, probably that's just the answer. And I don't like that. I don't like that conclusion. I don't know. It's not a great showing from Guy here right at the top. It's not, it's just, I don't love it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I like Guy in a lot of stuff that, like, comes up later.
Mm-hmm.
But here, it's just not doing it for me.
Kind of being a freak right now. There is a really funny joke where he's like, or something that becomes like a really funny joke with later context, where he's talking about like he's like 50 and 49 in his competition with Kakashi. Everybody's like, oh shit, he's stronger than Kakashi. And like later we learned that it's just like all of their competitions are just whatever bullshit they decide to do. It's like, yeah, we had like a push-up competition. We had like a... We were just doing some like menial petty bullshit to see who could do it better, and it has basically no bearing on who's better at fighting. But like in the moment, these kids are like, "Oh my god, this guy's the strongest person in the world. This is terrifying."
Yeah, I will say seeing Guy has like revived the need in me to have like a side story thing where it's just Kakashi and Guy drinking and talking about shit that happened on missions.
There is like a novel that gets adapted into a Boruto arc about Kakashi and Guy going on like a hot springs tour.
Yeah, I saw that. That was around when I stopped watching Boruto. It's pretty good.
But yeah, moving on from Guy though, I do really like the moment between like Naruto and Sasuke here at the end, where like Naruto's like, damn, I guess the Uchiha aren't shit. Sasuke's like, I don't know. He's like, I mean, like, no, you see how hard that guy was working. That's all that's going on here. It's not like like he's just working harder than you, and it's not like I think that really means anything about your family. Like this guy's just working hard. Don't worry about it. Like it is like it's just a cool moment between them, right? Like Naruto is expressing this idea abrasively, but it's very genuine, and like I like it. This is the beautiful communication between shonen manga rivals.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to. I don't know exactly where it is in Naruto. Like I straight up don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking forward to the part where it happens in every shonen thing, where like the main character, the underdog, gets like recognized as one of the strong guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to it. That's my favorite part in anything ever.
I think Naruto does like a really good job with that, honestly. So
nice. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I think the thing that this episode, like these episodes are setting up really well, is that like Sasuke keeps having these moments of like, oh, he's like recognizing the strong guys, and he's like, yeah, I gotta have a fight with like Gaara and Rockley and Neji, all these like strong, cool guys who've acknowledged me, because like, I mean, like these are all things that Sasuke doesn't get, but I think it's like, I think it's really fun to have him like sort of set up being like, yeah, I'm the cool tough guy, I can get back on my feet, I can get into this, and I can have all of these fights that I deserve because I'm the cool tough guy. I think it's very fun to see it like setting him up like this to get kind of knocked down later.
Yeah, Naruto's so good.
That's pretty good. Yeah, like I said, I have my reservations about the Chunin exams right here. I'm thinking about the things that are cool in it. I'm excited to keep going forward. There's like some really great episodes in here I'm excited to talk about.
Yeah, me too. With that, I guess, have you said all you needed to say?
I've said all I wanted to say about this, yeah.
All right. What are we watching next week?
Next week, we are watching episodes 23 through 25 of Naruto.
Nice. Well, thanks for hanging out. Quick reminder about the Twitter and the Patreon. That's Twitter at Konoha Crush, all one word, and patreon.com/Konoha Crush, again, all one word. And we'll see you next time. Later, and remember, there's no such thing as filler.